1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on episode 91. Blue's making fun of me now because as I was doing that count in, I was just making random symbols with my hand. I wasn't
just throwing up that symbol, casually.
Do a little of this.
Yep.
But yeah, so we've got another episode where I think we're just going to be talking topics because it's been 2 weeks. I got stuff to say.
Yeah, a surprisingly positive segment this is going to be, considering how hard we struggled for positive things last week. Was it last week?
It was, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. But no, there's just some nice things that have been going on this week, so...
Actually, before you say your positive topic, I'm just positive thing about life. I'm loving my new job still. Just a little positivity right there off the bat.
Yeah. It's been wonderful weather. Well, it's been boiling fucking hot weather.
It has been pretty
but
hot
I'd
here,
rather
too.
that than it being hurricanes and people not being able to get places because trains are off the rails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wow, I already made it dark, didn't I? Shit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, yes.
Positivity.
Something I found out about literally today, which I just thought was really cool, and I think, Kaiser, you might be interested by this. There is an app. Actually, you don't have an iPhone, do you?
No, I have two Android phones. One that's from my work and one that's mine.
Right, well, I don't know if it's on the Android or not. There is an app where you can put all of your available Lego blocks, just scatter them on the floor, take a photo, and it'll tell you a whole bunch of things that you can build with the blocks that you've got.
I need to look. You're going to send me what this app is. I want this app. So
go on.
I recently went home. Fireworks were going on, 4th of July and all that. And I was looking through my parents' place because, as I've said previously in the podcast, buying a house, and there's a bunch of furniture and stuff in the attic. I'm like, this is going to save me having to furnish the place. Tons of Legos I saw up there. Like, tons of... I probably have thousands and thousands of Lego bricks, just either constructed into something or loosely in buckets at my parents' place. I might need a Lego
And now you
room.
can make something of them.
Yeah. My first apartment, coming out of college... my first apartment, not as a student, I actually had a Lego table in my living room. It was like you could put a tabletop over it, so it'd be a normal table. You take it off, and it's just the Lego surface, so you can build stuff on it.
Put like a glass sheet on top of it.
It wasn't a glass. So yeah, it was a wooden thing that goes over the Legos and that would slot in and turn it into a normal table. But you take that off, and then it's just the actual Lego surface that you can build on. I love that thing. And it'd be a very relaxing thing. I'd have a Sunday afternoon or something, have nothing to do, just pull the top off the table, build Lego for an hour. It's very relaxing.
Very nice. But yeah, no, I've played Lego in a very long time, but that app sounds just ingenious. Yeah, it uses an AI to work out what blocks you've got, and then it just goes through a whole fuck ton of different creations that have been put out there. I don't know how good it is because I haven't personally used it myself, but the concept behind it sounds ingenious.
Do you know what the name of the app is?
I did write it down. It's called Brickit, as in Brickit. All one word.
See, I do want to just one mild correction. You have played Lego by proxy fairly recently. There's a Lego TIE Fighter sitting right up there.
True. Well, I don't even know if it counts as me. I wasn't even helping with the instructions. I was just chatting shit while you built Lego.
Honestly, that was a really, really fun podcast.
It wasn't a podcast, it was a stream.
It was a stream, but we uploaded it both to YouTube and to RSS, so it went out as a podcast.
I see. So all those people that couldn't actually see what you were doing must have been fucking ripping their dicks off.
I did put in the description that I put a warning in there that there was a visual element, and if you wanted to see that, go to YouTube.
Whenever I hear there's a warning in the video, I'm like, okay, there's going to be like nudity or swearing or something. No. You're missing out on Lego right now, guys. This is a very serious thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
No, I used to go out with someone who was a Lego collector, and they don't get me wrong, it was quite incredible. But from what I understood, it was also a very expensive hobby because Lego
It's not cheap.
continuously puts out new collectible content. And go on.
Like so story from my childhood, because I loved Lego as a kid, but again, because of how expensive it was, it it wasn't something that I could indulge in very often. I remember like there was this Lego monorail that I really wanted. It was like this space age monorail. It was really fucking cool, and I remember like begging my mom for it it was like a Toys R Us or something like that. And this was like the first financial talk I got as a kid. And she was like, okay, this is how much this costs. This is how many hours your dad is going to have to work if we buy this. Like, yeah. And I stopped begging her for it, but they did end up getting it for me for Christmas that year. But I had to wait like a few months. But it was
that's fair. That's very fair. I mean, I'm surprised you got it in the end because I wouldn't have.
Yeah, but it was months and months later. Like, that was my big Christmas present that year, was that Lego monorail set. So it's not a cheap hobby.
No,
I mean that Lego TIE Fighter was, I think, like $50 or something like that.
That's the thing. So when I was growing up, Star Wars Lego was all the rage, and frankly, I can't blame them because the things that you could make look so fucking cool. It was almost cooler than the actual goddamn films. And there were these mini packs that they were releasing, and I think there was 6 of them in the collection. And then if you collected all 6, they came with bonus parts, which allowed you to make a secret 7th one.
Oh yeah. I remember
that.
these.
Oh, that was my fucking crack.
So
I got one like every 2 weeks or a month or something, and yeah, it was great.
Something that this is going to be like an indulgence, and maybe we'll have to do another one of those streams on it if I do get this. That TIE Fighter was a compromise, because what I actually wanted to get was one of the big ass like AT-AT Walker, but it's an $800 Lego kit.
800. I thought I was going to say 80. I thought you were going to say, because that's expensive. No. When you're a kid, $80 or £80 or whatever, it's
a lot.
Really expensive.
Yeah. I still remember, by the way, that this was in the 90s, that monorail kit was $175. I still remember the price of it to this day. But yeah, so it's one of those proper like collector's edition ones where it's extremely detailed. It's like a few thousand pieces, and it's like this. People who are listening or watching can't actually see this, but I'm holding my. It's probably, for those in metric, about half a meter tall, or in feet, it's probably like close to 2 feet tall.
Yeah, 1.5, 2 feet.
It's a big kit, and so it makes sense that it's that expensive. It also
it just replaces your dog.
But the reason I didn't end up getting that one when we were doing this, I would have had nowhere to put it, literally. Like, I'm already running out of space in this place, but now I'm thinking about it again because I'll have a little bit extra space. But the reason I'll have extra space is because I'm buying a house, which means I'll also have less money. So I don't know if I can actually afford to get it now that I have the space for it. This catch-22.
Yeah. God. The things that you could do. The problem with getting a house that... you go to get a house and you're like, oh, there's this... It has so much space in it. And the problem with that is the same problem that you have when you're like, oh, I got a job and it's not many hours and it pays a decent amount. Yeah, but that means the hours that you're not working, you're going to be spending that money a lot faster. And the same thing with a house where it's like, okay, if I've got all this space, I need to spend money to fill it.
That is an issue. I don't know if I can't remember if I showed you it, but I've made an Excel spreadsheet that has a shopping list and a list of items that I know are either at my parents' place or at my place that I want to transfer in there. Yeah. And then I've created like a color-coded priority list to say like, okay, this is the stuff I can long-term save up for and get for the house. This is the stuff I need immediately. Like, and the immediate stuff is like a Wi-Fi router or like a chair, toiletries, stuff like that. And then the long term stuff is like shelving for like display shelving or like.
Oh, display shelving for like
Yeah.
collectibles, right? I think you meant like just because shelving provides more space typically.
Yeah,
So
yeah, things that are higher, like like a bookcase, or like these are like the medium priority things, like a bookcase, a dresser, a bureau, even
bureau?
a bed, a bureau, like a chest of drawers, I think.
Right.
But even like a bed frame, I don't need that right away. I have a futon mattress in the other room. I'm planning on just bringing that there, and that's where I'll sleep. Until I get like an actual bed in it. So even a bed is.
Well,
lower
you've got a
priority.
bed, haven't you?
I do, but it's staying here for
Oh
a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
It's also so I have a king size bed here, which honestly I got one just because I was like, I've never had a bed that big. I want to get a big bed. I literally
Big
have
beds
maybe
are great.
It's great, but I've only used like a third of it for most of the time because I don't take up a lot of space.
See, that's a problem that I have that you don't. That I'm yet to find a bed that I don't poke out the end of.
God, you need what they're referred to as California kings. So it's a king size bed that's longer,
Ah.
and so you might be.
You know what you need? You need a really nice, like, deep red leather chaise longue.
A what?
Chaise longue?
I don't know what it is.
Imagine, like, a sofa with one armrest cut off.
Oh, fainting couch.
Is that what it's called?
That's what
yeah.
I've heard it called.
I think it's what they typically have in, like, psychologist skits.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard it referred to.
Those things are great.
I think
love them.
I think fainting couch is kind of an outdated term for it, but that's what I know it as.
Right.
I'd
yeah,
love
it's a bit less fancy than chaise longue.
It is, yeah. I'd love to have something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that's on the wish list for like far down the line. It's a coffee table that's also a Bluetooth speaker, a fast charging port, and a mini fridge. And it's got LED lights.
I like the fact that it's all contained, but any time that I hear Bluetooth, I think it's a con. Like, Bluetooth is so... Like, you could just fucking stick a £10 Divoom Airbeat speaker to the side of it, and it's a Bluetooth speaker now.
It's true, but I've done some reading about this. It's actually a fairly high quality speaker. But the thing that I could care less about the Bluetooth thing or the fast charging thing. It's got some USB ports on there and stuff. The big thing for me was it's a coffee table with LED lights and a mini fridge inside it. Like, it's just got a drawer that you pull out.
Everything's got LED lights these days. Your mouse, everything to do with the computer has got LED lights.
Look behind me. I've got...
Yeah. And you're falling into... You're becoming a stereotype, Kaiser. That's what I'm saying. You're becoming a stereotypical nerd. Which, actually, you know what? We're both massive fucking nerds. So I guess that's not such a big thing. But... branch out. Be creative. Do something different. Like, when I think of Kaiser... I think of old-fashioned, like, hunting lodge.
That's
that kind of style.
I am planning on theming my office kind of like that. I'm looking at the desks I'm looking at are like, wood top desks, like rough cut. I've got like an old, like, dark wood bookcase that I plan on moving in there that's in my old bedroom from when I was a kid. Believe me, that's the style I would go with.
Maybe even preferably Miami Cartel style. The black and the gold.
I mean, it's literally what I'm wearing right now.
Well, yeah, that's what you're wearing, but I mean, like, the room around like a piano in one corner that you've never learned how to play, but I don't know, you can hire someone to come in and play something.
Dude, when we watched Scarface, his office? I would that would be I would love to have an office like that.
Well, you've seen the Payday 2's rendition of his office.
Yeah, I have.
That is that is like,
yeah,
that's some good shit.
But that's like life goals. That's down the road.
Oh yeah,
Like
when you got that mansion in Miami, yeah.
right now, like I'm not planning on like right away repainting or doing anything like that. For the time being, it's just I'm gonna do what I can with furnishings to make it my own.
Yeah.
Because this is not the house I plan to spend the rest of my life in. It's a house I plan to live in, either sell or rent out later down the line. And for the time being, just chill.
Well, for me, there's three things I kind of want that are absolutely unnecessary, but three things that I want. And that is a room to stream in / recording.
Yep.
A room to work in, like an office. And a room to do just game related stuff in. So board games, maybe a pool table, stuff like that, a drinks cabinet, things like that. Realistically, if I'm lucky, I'll get one room to do all three of those things at the moment.
That's about what I'm aiming for, is that office room.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm putting so much mental planning into what it's going to look like, because it's going to be the stream and record room. It's going to be my work office room, and it's probably going to be my like play board games and have a drinks cabinet room.
Yeah. But like as I get further in life, hopefully, it'll split into one room for the office, one room for the streaming and games. And then if I ever get so lucky as to have room for each of them, then fucking fantastic. But at the moment, I don't think I've got room for any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean,
life goals.
Right now, that's what I've been doing for the last few years, is this space right here, this section of my home, is it's my living room, it's my office, it's my playroom.
Your kitchen.
The kitchen's over there. That's separate.
But it's part of the same room, really.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, my condo is just one giant L shape.
It's a studio-esque flat.
It is, yeah. It's got two separate rooms, one for the bathroom and one for the bedroom, but everything else is one continuous thing.
Yeah. Which, honestly, I lived in student accommodation for... Was it 2 years? I have a very bad memory. And that was literally one room that had my bed in it, it had a TV, it had a sofa. Honestly, that was fucking heaven.
I won't lie, I really kind of miss... Yeah, because in college, that's what it was.
Yeah.
The first year, it was a small dorm room, and me and we made the
most
most out of it.
A little toilet connected.
We put like a double riser on my bed, so we could put like a futon couch underneath it to add a little bit of extra space.
And that way, much like you do at the moment, you can move stuff around on a whim, and it takes like an hour, and your whole apartment's different.
Yeah. It's what I do. It's what I've done to keep the space kind of fresh. Like right now I've got my TV right over there, which kind of subdivides the room. It makes it seem like there's a study area and then there's a living room area. And I've done that with my couch before, and yeah, I've moved everything around.
But that wouldn't work so well, I feel like, if there were two people living there. Because you need space, you need your own rooms, kind of thing.
Yeah, this is not the kind of... This is very much like a single person's like living space.
Yeah.
This is not the kind of... I mean, unless you were like really 100% happy being together all the time, this is not the kind of living space that you would want to have two people in.
Yeah.
But that being said, like I got used to... In college, I always had like a ton of roommates, because my freshman year, I had one roommate that, well, he got kicked out. But then I had another roommate after that. And then second year, I had two roommates. And then one roommate for the 2 years after that. I liked living with other people. But I think as life goes on, you kind of grow out of that.
Well, but even then, you weren't like sleeping in the same room as them, kind of. Sorry, that's kind of what I meant.
You're thinking of like
you're
thinking of like a couple.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. So we were sleeping in the same room, but different beds, obviously, because it was a college dorm room. No, I didn't cuddle Juan. Oh God.
Yes. No, I can't say that. Anyway, what was your topics? Because I've spent the first 20 minutes talking about my first topic.
Yeah. So this is interesting. it segues nicely because it's also about nerdy shit.
Ooh.
So I should preface this by saying that I was never a comic book person. Like I didn't give it. I knew who Batman was. I watched the Batman animated series when I was a little kid. But I was never like into superheroes or comics really until like the whole like when Iron Man came out. That was kind of my first foray into understanding like.
And you mean the movie Iron Man?
Yeah. I mean the movie Iron Man. Yeah, sorry, the one in 2008. But I've kind of like I've warmed to it a little bit. The series Invincible, which Amazon released a series about. I watched it, loved the first season, read the comics. The comics are, in my opinion, better than the actual.
That's the father-son anime that you've spoken about in previous podcasts.
Yeah, the think mark, think. the meme. You've seen the meme?
I just remember the you telling me about the train.
Oh yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's a very well written first season. It's so good. Yeah. But I'd argue the comic is even better. And the comic, I've read the entire comic series almost twice now because I felt a bit like just a hankering to read it again because the second season hasn't come out of the series on Amazon. So it's like, oh, I'll read through it again. And it still holds up. It's the first comic book that I've ever read the whole way through if you don't count like manga.
Right.
Which I don't. I see those as two very different things, different styles almost. But that was a long-winded thing to say from what I've heard, because I follow a lot of people on YouTube who talk about like entertainment. Like people talk about video games, people talk about, movies, comic books, stuff like that. And one of these people who was very much into comics was getting kind of like fed up with the state of Marvel and DC in particular and how just the writing has gone downhill, the artwork and like talent has gone downhill. They've gotten just it used to be that comics, even if they had like a political message, it was kind of intelligently woven into the story. Like it was more subtle. Now it's just beat you over the head with the giant political club. Marvel, from what I understand, is worse than this. Again, this is all me getting this secondhand from people that I follow and watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of these guys, he decided, fuck it, I'm making my own comic book company. He's making his own universe. And so the guy invested like $200K, bought a warehouse, hired some part-time staff, contracted like a printing company. He wrote the story and has like 2 artists doing the drawing and the color work and stuff.
Yep.
And then he started a pre-order campaign for it. So it's not like a Kickstarter. It was actually like, do you want to pre-order this book? He's selling it for like $35 for the first issue, which it's not just like a short comic. It's like a 96-page book.
To be fair, any first issue of a comic, I feel like it's going to go for quite a bit of money. It's
also like a startup. So he's like, they need to recoup the money they put into it. So his handle on YouTube, I think, is Young Rippa 59 or something like that.
That's a stupid name. Go on.
I think it was probably one of those people who made like a YouTube account and didn't really just like, I'll just put this and then I'll put my favorite number or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he starts the campaign and he's making his own like universe. So like, they call it the Marvel or the DC universe or like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's calling it the Ripperverse, which honestly I think sounds like a really cool name. And so he's got the Ripperverse.
Honestly, the Muskverse.
He's got the Ripperverse.com as the website. So he's not even using like Kickstarter or anything like that. And day one of the campaign, they were aiming for $100,000 in sales as a start off. And I think $200,000 in sales, they could recoup their losses. And they had a couple other things like, hey, we'll hire more people if we get this level and this level and this level. They hit $1 million in sales day one.
Yeah.
I checked earlier this morning, they're over $2 million in sales, and it's 5 or 6 days in. And it just... And this was the thing that kind of like... I was looking at I bought it, by the way. There was a couple stuff. You could like buy trading cards, you could buy the book, you could buy the book with an alternate cover, you could buy a poster, a t-shirt. I just bought the first book. So I
book or comic? Like,
comic.
Is it... I was going to say, is it something you're going to frame?
No, they did have one where you get 2 copies, one to collect and one to read, but I just want to read it. So it's something that I'll read, see if it's any good. I might keep supporting if it is. But it's going on. It looked like it'd be something nice to have on a bookshelf too, because it's like not like a thin comic book. It's actually like a
right.
That's why I'm calling it more of a book but it is a comic. Anyway, it's been like a crazy amount of success for it, and I think it's such a positive thing because I was looking through their website and they actually have a code of ethics. And one of the first things in their code of ethics is like, respecting their customer, which I think is they're doing that as a direct reaction to how much, like, hold on, let me pull it up.
A code of ethics towards the kind of things that they'll put in the comic, or the way that they'll treat people.
The way that they'll treat people. So here's I'm gonna read verbatim from the website because I feel like this is such. They're at 2.2 million now, by the way. I think this is such a rare thing in entertainment now, like companies actually respecting the customer, respecting the audience, respecting the fans. So this is what it says: respect the customer. There's a lot more than this, but this is one I want to read. We want you invested in this brand and everything that comes from it. Ripperverse Comics is not entitled to your money, and we must earn your support. It's not on us as the creators to produce something that you find of value. Sorry, it's on us as the creators to produce something that you find of value and can remain invested in. It's impossible to please everybody, but we hope there's a book or character that you look forward to keeping up with. The success of this company will be largely dictated by our ability to keep the customers interested and satisfied. We are not oblivious to this. Respect goes both ways, and we will honor our side of the deal.
Okay, can I say something quickly?
Sure.
The other day we were talking about Heroes of the Storm patch notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I read out to you what those patch notes were, and I said, okay, there's a bunch of really positive words in this 4 or 5 paragraphs.
Yep.
And what it boils down to is we're not going to put any effort into maintaining this game, but it'll still be available.
Yeah.
I feel like now that's the position of someone who's got a working game that people love already. It's a safe bet. What I feel like you just read out is the equivalent for a startup, and it basically says the exact same thing. That is to say, we really care what you think about, and we're going to do our best goddamn job. I hope you like our product. Keep buying our thing.
It's why I think that's a fair criticism. And this is my thinking. Having listened to what this person has said in the past, and their opinions on basically the way you and I reacted to that statement from Blizzard about Heroes of the Storm.
It was a lot worse than what you just read out, by the way.
Oh, I know.
Just for other people. Yeah.
So the way we reacted to that statement put out by Blizzard, I've seen this person who founded this company reacting that way to similar statements from the comic book industry.
Okay.
And so, based on that, I'm more inclined to believe this person. That being said, I always maintain a healthy level of skepticism, which is why I didn't buy more than... I'm going to buy the first book. If it turns out that that's an honest and sincere statement, and the story's good, I'll probably buy the next one too. And keep supporting it as long as that statement does appear to be sincere.
Here's how I think the perfect statement goes in that. Instead of saying, we are going to do everything we can to listen to the audience, you get rid of that for a start. And what you replace it with is, we have listened to the audience, and that's why we have made these changes, which are solid. They are already out in the public. You can see them for yourself. Here's our proof. Here's our credentials. Here's why you should trust us. Love our shit.
Yeah. And I think that only works if you're an established brand, if you've already produced something. This is the very first thing they've produced. Okay. So at this point, I have no reason to distrust that statement. the person, from what I've seen in the past, seems to be someone with integrity. Seems to be someone with genuine passion for the craft. And we'll see if this comic book comes out and it's actually well written and it's got compelling characters. It's interesting to read. Then, only then if they ever deviate from that, that's when it comes. We might have to go to a statement like that where they say they need to make changes. But I agree, if a company or a brand or some kind of medium has been doing something shitty, they can put out statements all day and night, but until they actually do something, do something first and then make the statement.
Yeah, talk about the successes that you've made, not the ones that you will do.
Yeah. As much as I am still bitter at the creators for No Man's Sky, they're an example of doing it right. Where they shut the fuck up, they fix their mistake, and then they re-engage with the community.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I'm less... Now that we know more about the circumstances that surrounded that terrible time, where it turns out that the person in charge of the game development, who has no actual training in speaking to media, became the media manager overnight. Yeah. I have a level of sympathy for him, and on top of that, he absolutely the company as a whole made the morally correct decision, and it's normally the hardest decision to make is the morally one.
Yeah.
To keep working with no new benefits.
Yeah. And that's
the kind of...
Yeah.
So go on.
No, you're right. That's the right way to do it.
I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but it is the way that restores my faith in humanity.
I should rephrase that. That is the right thing to do when you find yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something. So a good chunk of the job that I do professionally is auditing, and one of the things that, talking about the guy, this is relevant to the guy going and not being prepared for the kind of perception that you get, like when you're out there promoting the game, being in the media spotlight. In auditing, what some people will tend to do is so you're in a room, an auditor asks you a question, you answer the question, the auditor doesn't say anything, or maybe they just nod.
Yeah.
And they'll wait, and what you don't want to do is just start talking to fill the void, because you'll just make things worse. You might say something stupid, you might confuse the issue, you might cause them to think something that you said earlier was wrong, and then they'll dig deeper, and you might not actually have anything wrong, but you'll create that perception because you're just nervously chatting. So there is a certain level of experience you need when you're out in that public spotlight, or when you're being scrutinized in some way, even if it's not public. Anyway, little side tangent.
Yeah. What are we looking at? 33 minutes. Should we go to another topic?
I don't know. I think
I've got a very small one.
Okay, yeah, let's do one more then.
Okay, I've been playing a demo. It's not a fully released game yet, which absolutely kills me. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I really dislike demos, and hear me out. I do think demos are a very good, smart move by development companies to get feedback and to improve on what they have before they fully release a game. As a business, I think it's a brilliant idea. As an individual that plays these games, I hate it because I start really enjoying a game and then it's and that's all you get.
That's the sign of a good demo, honestly.
Yeah. And it means, and God knows I will, then follow that game. When it gets released, I will certainly pick it up. But God, it's so annoying. I've been playing a game this week called Potion Permit. And it's all about... So you go out during the day, you gather materials, then you come back to the city, into your laboratory, and doing a puzzle, a very simple puzzle game. You create potions which you can then use to cure people or just straight up sell on. You look puzzled.
I just realized as you're describing this. Do you know the game Moonlighter?
Do you mean Moon? It might be Moonlighter.
I think it's called
the game where you go into the dungeon and then you
come back out and you have a shop and you sell stuff.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking
good game.
The concept does sound kind of similar to that, except potions instead of. There's an extra layer to it.
Yeah, Moonlighter was you're running a shop, whereas in this you're curing people. I haven't played much into it yet. It feels a lot like it's a cutesy anime pixel game, which I feel like for those people who oh god, I got another big thing to talk about, but we can talk about that game in segment 3.
Okay.
For people who are not big into adrenaline-fueled shooting games, this is one of the perfect games. Because yes, there are enemies to fight, but it is very basic enemies. And there's I've not died in it because it's always kind of difficult to die. It's kind of, the enemies are that easy, but it's a lot like Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Except when you get to the city, when you start out, instead of everyone being like, "Oh, you're the new farmer person. Oh, that's great." Instead, it's like, "Oh, you're one of those people from the city that fucked us over 10 years ago. I'm not going to talk to you until you've helped the rest of the town a bit more."
Oh, God.
But you get this, you start the game with a big lolloping English sheepdog who follows you around everywhere. It's adorable, very cute graphics. You can skip a lot of the story if you want to, it seems like. I'm enjoying it a lot for a demo. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I need to get back into, well, I mean, the YouTube channel, like, there's quite a few demos. The whole 5-second attention span series started out with reviewing demos. Those do sound like Stardew Valley, as much as I've played Stardew Valley, I've never actually finished the whole 3-year cycle.
What happens after 3 years?
I don't know. I think the game ends.
Oh.
I think the game only goes for 3 years, and...
Oh, that makes me anxious if I were to play it now, then. I don't like that.
That's what I've heard. But like I said, I've never beat the game.
Yeah.
The furthest I've gotten... I have a save on the Xbox where I've gotten up to year 2. And it's going pretty well.
I'm sure Mass has.
Probably, yeah.
Always ask her.
That's a game that I wish we'd done more co-op with it, because the co-op... I did one co-op game. It was with Mass, Kevin, and Jake.
Oh.
There was one that was with us, and then we did the other one. It was you, me, and Mass. But they always kind of died off because we couldn't sync everyone up being on at the same time, really. Well, and that's a game that you really need to sit down and put some hours into. Yeah,
I'm not as young as I used to be. I can't be up at 3 a.m. every night.
God. I feel exhausted if I stay up until midnight.
Yeah.
But I've always been more of an early riser anyway. All right.
But no, we've got more games to talk about in segment 3.
We do. So in segment 3, couple little sneak preview going into there. A really well-polished Skyrim multiplayer mod has come out, which we plan to try out a little bit later. I don't know if we'll try it out before we record segment 3, but we'll see. But yeah, look forward to that. In the meantime, do you have anything else to say?
I'm going to keep mine secret, so people will have to listen in to find out what I'm going to be discussing.
Fair enough. All right, this is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We're on segment 3, our media segment. Wait, no, fuck. Our wildcard segment. Fuck, what segment is it?
Hey, wildcard fans.
Oh God. Uh, that's something we can start off with, just as a quick aside.
Do we want to start off with that?
Probably not.
No, let's move on. What is your topic?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the fact that we found out earlier this week, and by we, I mean Scott told us, that Skyrim now has a mod that supports multiplayer. So I don't know how much we've talked about this in the podcast previously, but always been a big Elder Scrolls fan since I got Morrowind on the Xbox. And then obviously played the fuck out of Oblivion on the Xbox 360, and I have several versions of Skyrim because it came out on everything under the sun. And ever since I was in high school, like one of the dreams was to play multiplayer Morrowind. Yeah. Like my friend would just bring his Xbox over to my house after school and we would just play in the same room, and it was the closest we could get to it. And of course, on the PC version, they had a multiplayer mod for Morrowind. We had a server going for a while. It was a lot of fun. I just left it running on my other desktop and people could log in and do whatever. And I ran into an issue where I forgot my router was on dynamic IP address and it kept switching the IP. So once it switched the IP, no one could log into the server anymore. And I didn't realize that. So we could start it up again, but that's far in the past.
My history with... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
My Elder Scrolls history. I started by playing Oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
And I fucking loved it. I loved it so much. And then I was at school at the time. And Skyrim came out and everyone was like, oh, this is amazing new thing, it's incredible, it's blah 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 blah. And as is often the case with me, hype kills a game faster than anything else for me. And that is not to say that Skyrim is a bad game. Skyrim is not a bad game, and I did enjoy it. But I didn't enjoy it as much as Oblivion. I didn't care for it being spread around and people saying that it was the hottest shit since sliced bread. And it was kind of excluding the DLC where you go to the Isles of
that's Oblivion
of Slugland.
Oh, you're thinking the Morrowind one, yeah.
Huh?
So you go to the setting.
I'm not talking about the Isles of Madness from Oblivion. I'm talking about the one from Skyrim.
Yeah, the one from Skyrim where you go to you go to Vanderfell, the island where Morrowind takes place.
Yeah, Greyland, where all the enemies are grey and the monsters are, the places are grey and people are just boring to talk to, and there's dragons, but they're not very interesting dragons. But that was challenging. That was the level of challenge I wanted throughout the whole game, and just wasn't present. I agree with you, Skyrim. So, in terms of depth of mechanics and gameplay, Morrowind has the other two beat hands down. Oblivion struck a bit of a balance. They simplified a few things in Morrowind. They capped some of the more ridiculous stuff you could do in terms of creativity, but it still had that kind of feel to it. Skyrim took long strides in becoming much more of an action game, which is why when I got it on the PC, that really reinvigorated me playing it because I could mod the fuck out of it. I could mod it so it actually had that same depth of mechanics that you got out of Oblivion or Morrowind. You could mod it so that it actually had that level of complexity that I wanted at an Elder Scrolls game, and not the kind of casual action game that it sort of had become. Yeah.
We've kind of gotten a little off topic here, so just to
sorry.
Bring it back. There is a very well done, from the looks of things, we haven't tried it yet, multiplayer mod for Skyrim called Skyrim Together Beyond, I think, or Reborn. Skyrim Together Reborn. That's what it is.
That's a bunch of catchwords that are just shitty, stuck together.
Well, Skyrim Together was the original mod, but it was apparently very difficult to use and a bit glitchy. They redid the mod from the ground up and made Skyrim Together Reborn, which is what's out there now. So I spent a good chunk of this morning figuring it out, setting up the port forwarding, getting the server all configured and ready to go, and installing the right version of Skyrim, because it has to be done with the enhanced edition.
Yeah.
Which, it's fine. The enhanced edition, if you owned Skyrim, you got it for free, so that's no issue. And now the next thing is just to test it. But it looked really good because there's a party system in the game, so you can party up, and it's got like a multiplayer thing where you can see everyone's health bar up in the top corner of the screen. The way it functions is you've got one person who's the party leader, and they have to stay the party leader because it's their quests that you're doing.
Mm.
So the other party members can be changed in and out, but the party leader has to be always the same person. Otherwise, it screws with the scripting of the quests.
So yeah, look forward to seeing We Were Here Elder Scrolls.
And you can play it with mods, I found out, but everyone has to have the same, same mods, and they need to be enforced from the server side. So I was looking this up. I have to actually create a write-up, a text document, and put that into the Skyrim Together Reborn folder that tells everyone else's iteration of the game what order to load the mods in. Otherwise, it screws everything up. But even that seemed pretty simple. The thing that made it probably would have taken me 10 or 15 minutes to set everything up this morning, but it actually took an hour for me and that was my own damn fault, because my Skyrim, I have a bunch of different hard drives in my computer, and my Skyrim is not in the same location as my downloads folder, is not in the same location as my mod manager folder, and so once I got all that sorted out, then it was able to work. But
problem being, don't you think it's just going to be a worse version of Elder Scrolls Online?
I would argue a better version of it, because I did not like that game.
Why didn't you like the game?
Because it's an MMO, and I generally don't like MMOs.
Okay.
Because MMOs are designed...
Was the other players?
I like... The multiplayer part of MMOs is what I like. The problem I don't like is the massively online parts, which is where they focus a lot on grind. They necessarily have to dumb down the quest because there's now billions of yahoos running around.
There are tons of the same quest.
Yeah, this seems much more like you're a party. It seems much more like a D&D kind of experience where you've got a party of adventurers. You're going out to do quests together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Elder Scrolls Online, I love the dungeon. I love the dungeon running with Scott and Mass and you actually.
Yeah, I was there too.
Yeah. And early part of the game was a lot of fun leveling up and stuff. But late game, you're right. There was so much content in the game, but 90% of that content was the same mission of go to this place, fight this enemy, return to this place. And there was a very real moment where you realise, hang on a second, this feels like a cookie clicker, essentially. Yeah. This is what this has become, it's a cookie clicker.
And I feel like a good chunk of MMOs devolve into that. It's rare that you find the ones that don't. Like
RuneScape? Honestly, the quests on RuneScape would blow your fucking mind. They're so hard.
I enjoyed Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, we had some fun with that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some...
I didn't think you did enjoy it all that much.
No, I enjoyed it. I just...
Okay.
I don't like grinding. So that's why I would play it in like short bursts. I wouldn't play it for like long periods of time or every day, because I know myself well enough to know that I would burn out on the game if I did that.
Well, your favorite part, and also dare I say it, the dying cry of the game for you, was when I was like, Kaiser, there's a mount in this game. It's really cool. It's a sweet looking car that can fly, and so we spent like a week pushing you through the story as fast as we possibly could, and then you got it and you're like, great, now I've got the best mount of the game. I have no more reason to play this game.
I will say, before I actually earned the mount, one of my favorite things in the game, because you already had the car, was the fact that I could get in the back seat. So your character's driving around, and my character's just chilled out in the back, arms over and we're just flying around. I loved that part of the game.
Yeah. Well, that's not part of the game.
This goes back to my complicated relationship with MMOs in general, because my favorite part of them always ends up being something that's not really part of the game, not part of the core concept.
Yeah.
So, Elder Scrolls Online, one of my favorite things we ever did in that game was getting Scott's horse up in a tree.
Yeah.
An MMO that I played on the Xbox 360, Phantasy Star Universe. Played a lot of that game. But one of my favorite things to do in that game was everyone had their own little room, and you could decorate it and put like interactable things in there. Was literally just chilling out in the room of one of my friends who had a shop open and harassing his customers as they came in. Like,
Right.
that was just a lot of fun to me. But again, it's not part of the core concept of the game.
No. Do you remember Rust?
I do. That's the game with all the penises.
I mean, there's female characters as well.
It's just the
Interesting that you remember all the penises and nothing else.
it's rare for a game to have male full frontal nudity, and Rust did.
I think it's rare for a game to have female full frontal nudity.
That's a fair point. It's rare for a game to have full frontal nudity below the waist in general, and Rust did.
Yeah.
So I just remember that.
But no, I was referring more to the fact that you could like set up a second life kind of thing in that game as opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, people did that with Ark Survival Evolved servers as well, where they'd have whole communities and tribes, and they would build civilizations.
I hate Ark with a passion. Yeah. I really do. Like, the fact that you have to basically hack the game in order to not get dicked so hard by it that you just want to fucking do things that aren't friendly to Twitch or YouTube.
I enjoyed the brief period of time that we played that.
Did we play it?
Fairly recently, yeah.
I wasn't
maybe
included in that.
You probably, yeah. I think it was Joey, Scott, and Mass mostly, and I joined for a bit.
Yeah.
But then,
I mean, they changed it so that they could instantly tame animals once they had got them to a certain point, as opposed to normally, you would literally have to sit next to an animal for hours and defend it from other random fucking animals trying to kill it while it's knocked out, and slowly feed it berries over time. That's how you tame shit.
Yeah, and I can see the appeal to that, because it's one of those things where it feels valuable to like.
Yeah,
it's the same reason
it's
the same reason that people enjoy playing games like Dark Souls, because it's really fucking hard. And then once you actually get that feeling of like, I've conquered it, I've beat it.
But it's not hard. It's boring. It's sitting next to an unconscious dinosaur for hours of your life, so you can finally fucking tame it, and then the next day, while you're off taking a piss, a primal feraligator comes out of the woods and fucking teabags him. And you come back to a dead pet that you'd named, you'd given a special paint job to, and it's dead and gone, and you're never gonna see it again. And fuck you, player. Why are you playing our game?
I personally agree with you, but there is the kind of psychopath that enjoys that sort of thing. Like, people will play these, like... Oh, God. I just dropped my pen. Like, they're cookie clicker... I mean, people play cookie clicker games. People played Farmville. Like, there are people who play these kinds of, like... People play Truck Simulator, or whatever it is.
Whoa, you're getting a bit close to insulting me now.
I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Because that's something that I find tremendously boring, but people play it and enjoy it.
I don't think Simulator games, I don't think you enjoy it. You get satisfaction out of it. Playing... you played House Flipper. That's a simulator game.
Yep.
You don't really enjoy it, but you definitely get a sense of satisfaction when you do a really fucking good job.
Yeah. Same thing with, like, Viscera Cleanup Detail.
Viscera Cleanup Detail is the big one, yeah. I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah.
But there is a certain level of satisfaction that goes along with that sort of thing. And I'm saying that this game, in Ark in its original form, it does kind of lend itself to that same sort of mindset. It's a bit more hardcore. You're right. There's a lot more opportunity to get dicked over.
Yeah.
But I think it appeals to that same sort of desire for satisfaction, for doing a job well done and putting in that much effort.
it's these people that come across and they're like, what we need in the gaming industry is an incredibly realistic version of this thing that already happens in real life. Incredibly realistic, down to the T. And no. In the words of the Blizzard Diablo development team, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Granted, they are idiots and they were probably wrong, but you don't want, when you're playing a fighting game, let's say you're playing Call of Duty, you don't want to be there being like, okay, I have to go down to the store now to buy the bullets, and I have to manually load them into the magazines, and when I run out of bullets, I have to either get the fuck out of the area, somehow, or just start thumbing bullets into my magazine.
I do think that the pursuit of realism has gone way too far. It's something I agree. Like, video games don't need to be a perfect amalgam of real life. Like, a perfect facsimile of real life. It just, they need to be fun, first and foremost. And I agree that they go to, it's one of the reasons that I've never really gotten as into, like, the super realistic shooter. I like playing FPS, but I don't like playing games like Arma 2, for instance.
No, that's kind of the kind of thing I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, I like playing games like Halo, which are more over-the-top arena shooters, where, like, you don't just die in one shot. You have a regenerating shield. You've got, like, the weapons aren't hyper-realistic. You can drop half a magazine and you'll still have the same number of bullets. And little things that make the game, they're not realistic, but they make the game fun.
And this is where you get this is, I think, where you get that level of, you know, when people say, oh, games make children violent. Games don't make children violent. But I do think that in the games where it's trying to be hyper-realistic, that people do think to themselves, okay, now I could actually do this in real life because I've got such a good simulator of this game that I feel like I'm actually intelligent enough to speak to someone on a real-world level about this thing, and I'm going to put accolades on myself to say that I did things that I'm not qualified for. Yeah. And that's the dangerous part of it, I think.
A guy with 1,000 hours in Microsoft Flight Simulator just pulls up a plane.
Because you've never seen someone on Overwatch go, oh, yes, I'm a master tactician.
There's probably somebody out there.
I highly doubt, based on... But if you're playing Arma, for example, you know there are going to be people who are like, start only using call signs and things in real life and saying, oh, let's talk politics, real-world politics about the military in America. Why don't we have more A-10 Warthogs? And shit like that.
Well, a perfect example of this, though, and because this is something I encountered myself. I love using a shotgun in video games.
Yep.
I actually own a shotgun. There's practically no equivalence to firing a shotgun in a video game to firing a shotgun in real life. First of all, you don't understand the kind of recoil you get with the different types of bullets. The first time I fired a slug out of my shotgun...
technically they're shells from a shotgun, you imbecile. No, I've been playing Overwatch for 2 years, you idiot!
So the shell is what the shotgun bullet is loaded into. When I say a slug, it's just a big round ball that's in the shell.
Yeah.
It's got a heavy powder charge because it's got to actually, fire that ball.
A slug's normally armor piercing, isn't it?
It's like wall piercing. It's a very powerful round. Anyway, so powerful that the first time I fired it, I bruised my shoulder from the recoil because I just wasn't ready for it. Other stuff like birdshot and buckshot, there's much less recoil. But the way you see people in video games just casually firing shotguns as they're sprinting around, no. Just fucking no.
There's the way I think of shotguns with slugs is basically what you have is a sawed-off sniper rifle. That's kind of how I think about it.
Not the same. Well, it depends on how long the barrel is, but yeah. So this is from a long time ago when I went up to my cousin's place and we were blowing away fidget spinners with shotguns.
Yeah.
I tried firing a slug, and I missed the fidget spinner, but I hit the log the fidget spinner was sitting on. It just obliterated it. There just wasn't a log left.
Jesus.
Like it just chunked the whole thing into pieces. Yeah. Like they're very powerful rounds. Anyway, don't want to get too deep into that rabbit hole. But yeah, I think there are people who like they get into playing. There's some things though I think that realism can be a lot of fun with, like the economy management kind of games, or like the civilization building kind of games. Like realism in terms of how you manage the dynamics of like of an economy or of like an empire, of like a country. I feel like that's one where pursuing more realism can be fun as well.
I'm going to take it slightly back to something I mentioned before. You talk about economy simulators. As you know, and we've talked about this previously on podcasts, RuneScape has essentially a stock market.
Yeah.
Called the Grand Exchange, where it's just a hub where anyone can buy or sell things. That is very, very interesting to me, because market prices change all the time on that. The difference is that on RuneScape, it's very much easy to tell that it is an interpretation of something from real life, and it is not real life.
Yeah.
There are some economy games where I think people could be fooled into thinking, wow, I'm good at this game. I should start buying stocks in real life.
Yeah. I mean, there's some basic principles that you can like take. I do think that not the way those games function themselves, but the mindset you put yourself in.
Yeah.
In terms like, so one thing that's helped me, I actually credit a lot of my thinking in terms of like managing money and investing in things. I credit to StarCraft.
Right.
Because StarCraft...
Not enough minerals.
Exactly. Because StarCraft, like, if competitive StarCraft teaches you that you have to use the resources you have to build up more resources and build up more resources, and you don't just sit on your money because you'll lose the game.
Speculate to accumulate.
Yeah, you go out and you make good investments that then grows more money that you can then use to do what you want. And in StarCraft, that means building an army and kicking your opponent's ass. In real life, that means, what I'm doing now, buying a house. But I think
building a private army and,
hey, who knows? I think that's the sort of like, that's the distinction people need to realize, like with realism. Like if you're playing a game, there are things you can learn from it, concepts. There's ways it can train your mind to think about things that apply to real life. But it's important to realize that they aren't real life.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be a one-to-one match. Or at least hopefully not. Who knows? Maybe we'll all get plugged into the Matrix at some point.
Yeah. And also, I think it could all be fixed by having as realistic a game as you like, but having non-realistic graphics. I think that pretty much solves the problem.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of... I think we're talking about economy stuff.
Yeah.
And realistic, but non-realistic graphics. I'm like, that's just Microsoft Excel.
But, like, imagine playing Arma, right? It's a very serious game, and it's quite close to real life.
Yeah, just make all the soldiers into cat girls.
Exactly. Have fucking furries running across the field at you. And I guarantee that people are not going to be like, I'm a real tactician now.
I know how to load a weapon.
Or if they are, then they're psychopaths and they need locking up.
Though with VR, I know we played a few of them. There's a couple simulation games that are fairly, in terms of like gun games, there's some fairly realistic ones that do accurately represent, different weapons. And those, I think, could be... VR is different, though. It's much more in a good like tool for like learning stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so. We're talking about Pavlov.
Yeah.
It's realistic, but it's so close to
CS:GO.
I still don't think it actually looks realistic.
It doesn't, but a couple of the mechanics for how you handle weapons are fairly close to...
Yeah. how the way that you reload a drum mag, for example, is specific to that gun. You don't reload in the same way that you would a shotgun on that game.
Yeah.
And Payday 2, I would say you do get a bit of a chill in that you are walking around and other humanoid-shaped people are also walking around and you're interacting with them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just click a button to reload on that, which I'm perfectly fine with.
There's a few, just another example that I'm thinking of now that we're talking about VR. I talked about that game Hollow Point on the podcast last time.
Yeah.
Which is a VR bow and arrow game. I've actually shot a bow and arrow in real life. It's really difficult. It's also fucking terrifying because you have to like pull the string like right up to your cheek to fire accurately, and I'm always afraid I'm gonna like take my nose off or something if I don't aim it right. But it's like, it's a really, really hard pull. I think.
Yeah, I mean, in games you walk around with the bow drawn, ready to shoot someone.
Yeah.
In real life, you're like, no, this is really hard to hold.
Especially, it depends on the bow. Like, I was using just a normal bow, so it had like I think it was like a 30 or 40 pound draw.
Right.
Longbows have like a 70 pound draw, or it might be more than that. And then there's also like composite or what are they? No, is it composite? It's the ones that have the little wheels on the top and bottom. So they have a really hard draw, but then after you pull back, it becomes suddenly very easy. Those you can hold for a lot longer because it requires less force.
Yeah. But
it's still an effort to, hold for that period of time. Oh, how did we get here? Wait, what we started talking off. We were talking about Skyrim.
How did we get onto having a podcast and being like 92 episodes in?
That's a good point. Oh
God, do you remember back in the Rainbow days? I feel like Rainbow marked the beginning of it. There's a very particular mission I remember us doing. It wasn't a mission, it was just a random session we were doing. It was on the Brazil map. And I was outside like a window. We were attacking on that round. I don't know why. It's just one of those memories that get associated with, in this case, the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, Rainbow Six Siege. Oh God, that game was a lot of fun.
It was.
I don't know if you remember. This is a video on the YouTube channel somewhere. It's like a short one where we were playing on that competitive like soccer stadium map.
Oh yeah.
Did.
Yeah.
And like we're just driving the drone around, and we both just in perfect synchronicity started singing the "Because I Got High, Because I Got High."
Yeah, I do remember that.
Just funny moments that stick with your mind. Anyway, that was all my topic. What was yours?
Did I have one? Oh, I did. Oh my God, I totally forgot I had one.
Well, let's go through yours and we can wrap it up there.
Okay, bit of pre-story. Me and Vampy, we had a nice meal the other weekend, and occasionally we'll drop by the secondhand. Well, no, not even secondhand. The game store that's local, and have a look for Wii games, because Wii games are now criminally cheap, and honestly, they're pretty much the same as the games that are coming out today, just with worse graphics. And we were looking around there, and we always look at the Switch section as well, just for seeing what's kind of available, happening. And we found a pre-owned version of Pokemon Snap for like £27, which is about 40% off.
Yeah.
And I was looking at other games. I was kind of just pointing out games on the shelf that I was like, oh, this game's kind of cool, and explaining a little bit about it, and then going on to the next game. And I turned around at the end, and I realised that Vampy was still holding the case for Pokemon Snap, and I was like, you want to buy that game, don't you? So we've been playing Pokemon Snap. Now, I was initially dubious, because I think reviewers online have typically said that it's a boring game where not much happens.
Which,
Uh,
I mean, that's the game. You take pictures.
It's a game where you go on a safari kind of tour and you take pictures of Pokemon as you go. Having played it now, I think that they were. I don't think they're wrong. I think they're coming at the reviewing process from a very different angle, though, from a lot of people that enjoy games. That is to say, the reviewers I listen to primarily play games that give A challenge, and B, the fairly high-octane adrenaline fuels gaming.
Yeah.
I think those are the two primary aspects of the people that reviewed them. And I don't think either of those qualities apply to Pokemon Snap.
No.
What I do think applies massively to Pokemon Snap is anyone that enjoys playing phone games. Go on.
No, I was gonna finish your thought.
I don't personally play phone games, but I still really am enjoying Pokemon Snap because it's, like we talked about earlier, a simulator-esque game. And it's got a surprising amount of content. There is quite a bit of grinding in it, I will say, which is kind of odd. But when you get when you're doing a map, let's say for the 4th or 5th time, and you're like, "Ooh, there's this Pokemon that I never knew was there, but if I throw a fruit into a hole, then a Pokemon appears." And there's also some really fucking funny moments. There's a part where, this is slight spoilers, where you can shrink yourself down and go into a tree, foresty nature path area. And you're going through this log, and one of the exits to the log has just a giant Bidoof's arse just sticking into the log. And it's bloody hilarious. You see miniature stories being told where a Doe trio is bullying a Pikachu and the fire rabbit thing, and by the end of the journey a Torterra scares off the Doe trio, and you're trying to get the best pictures, and it's just very satisfying.
So what I was going to say earlier, so I haven't played the Switch one, but the reason I'm kind of nodding along with this, I played the N64 one and played it quite a bit. Beat it a few times. They did the same thing. It's good to hear what you just said, because that was kind of the essence of the original one. You're kind of on this guided safari tour going down some rails, but you could interact with the environment. You could find secret stuff, like if you throw they had these things that would annoy the Pokemon, or these, you could throw an apple, so one would come over and eat the apple and then pose in an interesting way. Yeah,
do a happy little dance.
There were secrets in a grassy area. If you threw one of the annoying things at the specific spot in the grass, a Scyther would fly up and you'd get a special shot. And if you did all of these very specific things, there was a secret where you could get a secret final level where you saw Mew, and you could take pictures of him. There were these, but all the different levels had different ways. You could get a Moltres if you hit all of these very specific things in this lava level at one point. And so there was, it's good to hear that they kept the essence of the game, because that's what it wasn't a very long game, the N64 one. And again, like you said, not a very action-oriented game.
No.
It was almost like a puzzle thing. It was like, I'm going to experiment and try all these different things, and then depending on what I do, I get rewarded by finding the secret Pokemon, and I get a lot of points for the picture that I get for that Pokemon doing this specific thing.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of also boss levels. I don't know if they were in the original N64 version.
Not their own levels, but there were sort of I don't know if you'd even call it a boss, but when I'm talking about Mew and Moltres, and the only thing that was a level dedicated to one Pokemon was the Mew level. Yeah,
okay, so you get them sort of dotted throughout, and they're what I'm calling the boss levels. The first one is what's the giant Diplodocus plant? I can't remember what it's called, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I might. What's Diplodocus?
It looks like you don't know what Diplodocus is?
No.
No, sorry, I'm thinking of... is it Brontosaurus I'm thinking of? Hang on, 1 second.
Blue's looking something up. Dragonite?
Brontosaurus was what I meant.
Okay.
What's the Diplodocus?
What is a Diplodocus?
Oh no, Diplodocus is what I was thinking of. Look up Diplodocus while I'm talking.
Okay.
And he's just kind of wandering on his own, trying to take all these special shots to him. He leans down to eat something, and then he gets a special effect on him, and you're trying to snap the perfect moment. But one of them, it's in the fire volcano level, and you're facing the boss there, and it actually got like intense boss action music, and
Okay.
it has like a fiery shield, which you can only knock off by throwing apples at it repeatedly. Don't ask about the logic, alright? You're throwing apples to put out a fire.
Okay. So what you're talking about, then I will say that they seem to have evolved the concept from the original game, because they had something similar in that. So like the Mew level, only if you had done certain actions, he had a shield, and every time you took a picture of him, he was just a glowing ball. Unless you did some very specific things, then you could see him.
That's exactly how it was for the fire one.
And then some of the other levels, like there were certain Pokemon, you had to do things throughout the whole level, and if you did them right, that Pokemon would show up. There were also secret levels that if you did things in a specific order, you'd go into them. So it sounds like they evolved on that concept and kind of did it a little bit more often and a little bit more in-depth in this version.
One for each realm.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, though. I may pick that up for the Switch then, because I really... Pokemon Snap was a very chill, relaxing kind of game. And that's something... That's a lot of what I use the Switch for now, is just games where I just end of a work day, chill back on my couch, I got the controller slumped over, and just play something quick before bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect for that kind of game. It's a very wind-down game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm glad
that was. There's not much to talk about Pokemon
No, there
Snap.
isn't.
It's just a really good, chill game.
Well, I think the big thing to talk about, which we already covered, was how it compared to the original.
I thought you were going to say Bidoof's ass.
I think I actually have the original Pokemon Snap for the N64 cartridge at home. Because I rented it originally, but I think eventually I did end up buying it.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, a lot of my N64 games I got because, like, when the rental store, like, after a while, they would sell games that had been rented for a long time. And I think that's where I got my copy of Pokemon Snap. Like, I rented it for a while, and then when they were getting rid of it, I bought it for, like, $10.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Did they have a thing in the original one where if you played a level and you got lots of really good photos, you'd get enough XP on that level to upgrade that level?
You did get stuff for getting a ton of good photos. I can't remember what exactly.
Okay.
I think you. Oh, it's been so long since I've played it. I can't remember.
That's kind of how they add more content to the game as you play it, because if you play a level for the first time, the level starts at level 1, and let's say you got like a 4-star picture and some other really good pictures. Then the next time you play it, it'll be level 2, and different events will be happening on that level.
I don't remember if they did that in the original. I know the levels would change based on what you did as you went through them. And I know that they had an XP system for like how good your photos were in a given level, and that was used to unlock something. But I can't remember if it was just unlocking the next level or if it did something to the level previously. Or maybe you unlocked new items. It's been so many years since I played it that I'm not positive. But they did have an XP mechanic, and they did have, something that you unlocked with it. I just can't remember what.
But yeah.
All right. That's it. Well, this has been like, I feel like we basically had two to four topics, and we kind of spiraled into these long tangents with all of them in both segments.
Like we never do that normally.
Oh god, it's fun to do that though.
True.
I think that's our brand at this point, getting completely off topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. This is going to be the end of episode 91 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all. It was 91. Yeah.
I thought we already had 91. Jesus. All right. Sorry. Okay.
90 was last week. You're making me second guess myself now, though. I'm looking back at my notes. No, this is episode 91.
Okay.
I'm positive.
Okay.
I was right. This is going to be the end of episode 91 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again in 2 weeks for episode 92.
Scroll.